And hello, fellow gamers. I am back playing some more games. This time I'm playing Burnin Rubber on the Amstrad GX4000. And, I've already, off the stream when I was testing the game, I already went through the options menu and it lets you change the controls, which I think I'm just going to stick to the default controls. And it also lets you change from automatic to manual gearing. I'm going to leave it on automatic because I'm lazy. So I'm just going to jump right in and say, press Fire 1 to start. And this is a racing game, so you know how good I am at those. This ought to be entertaining, to say the least. There's absolutely no sound effect for whenever you're clear to go. And notice how those other cars are instantly flying way past me and I'm still getting up to speed. That seems fair, doesn't it? Like what, they started a mile back there a minute ago and flew over the starting line at top speed. So I'm sure we've all seen a number of racing games like this in our time. There's been a racing game like this on basically probably every 8-bit system. Probably even the 16-bit systems as well. And then at that point we started... Boom! At that point we started having actual 3D hardware in the consoles, and this kind of presentation for a racing game sort of disappeared. But this is indeed, as usual, real game, real hardware. The only way I do it on my channel. I got this Amstrad GX4000. I bought it about 2 weeks ago, and it just got here today. And it came in the original box, with all the original stuff, still in the original plastic even. As is evidenced by the fact that the controller cord right here is all still bendy and everything, because it was wound up like this. And it's probably been that way for... since the system was made, about 30 years. Almost 30 years, 1990. So the Amstrad GX4000 was a console that was released only in Europe, primarily in the UK. And it was the last in the Amstrad CPC architecture. When it was released alongside the Amstrad CPC 464 Plus and the Amstrad CPC 6128 Plus. And the latter of those two were home computer versions. They were upgraded versions of their corresponding non-Plus versions. And what they added over the previous generation of computers was additional graphics and sound hardware to try and make it compete with stuff like the later 8-bit consoles and the new 16-bit consoles that were coming out, and much more capable computers like the Amiga. And unfortunately for those computers and the GX4000, it was kind of too little too late. By the time they finally did come out, competing hardware from other manufacturers had pretty much already overtaken it. And so not very many people bought them. And so they're kind of rare, and yet not, because it's still quite easy to get a complete Amstrad GX4000, just like I did, practically brand new in the box, on eBay for not much money. In fact, with shipping, I paid less than $100 for this. I actually paid more for the cartridge emulator that I got for it, which is called the C4 CPC. And oddly enough, the seller of that was located right here in the United States. Oh, that's how we play this. This is Twisted Metal now. See, one way in which I'm heavily incapable of playing racing games is I pretty much never use the brakes. And I almost never let off the accelerator either. Which is why I hit the sides like that. Also very anticlimactic sound for the car landing. It's just... I will say that it feels like it takes forever for the car to get up to speed, but if you look at the speed indicator in the upper right, it is accelerating pretty quickly. And I can't tell, but there might also be some day-night cycling going on. Because it looks like the... Oh, extended play. We all like that term. Because there's some changes in the coloration going on. That might be the game doing that, or that might be the console being old doing that. See, look, there it goes again. It's like it's temporarily sunset, and then the sun decides, I don't want to set, I'm going to go back to rising. Wonder who those faces are in the billboards that are flying by. Wonder if those are the developers. Whoa! That guy blew up! Did you see the smoke coming out of his engine? So the odd thing about the GX4000 is there were only a handful of games released for it. I think it was like under 30 or something like that. And a lot of them were ports of existing Amstrad CPC games. So even though it's easy and inexpensive to get your hands on a console, even in the box and with everything original, the cartridges are still quite expensive and quite rare. Looking at the letters flashing across the top, that's interesting. I thought it was glitching at first. Okay, so I'm gonna be... No! I did that wrong. Apparently I'm full of pee. Let's see what the chat has been saying. Menu45 says Rad Racer. Indeed, Rad Racer was another game that was similar in presentation to this. Menu45 also mentioned Pole Position. It's very similar as well. See, I just thought, I had thought of another game that was similar to this, but it's blew right out of my head. Jay says, I just played some Mario Kart 64 the other day, which had notorious rubber banding. You could use mushrooms all you want. The CPU would still be right behind you. Huh. Well, that's pretty damn irritating. Jormor says, was this new old stock? Basically, yes. The seller of them had a number of them. I don't know how they got them. I'd imagine that the hardware, the GX4000 might have been one of those things that ended up in the UK shops that are simply called Game, and so it showed up in there for almost no money, and they blew out of stock. So basically, probably a couple of people went into Game one day and bought all their GX4000s, and they've just been sitting on them all these years. And Kusune has joined us. Kusune says, holy shit, this game's frame rate is 5. I know, I was thinking about that myself. Like, I'm broadcasting at 720p 60 and recording at 720p 60, and this game is just barely playable from a frame rate perspective. It's a solid frame rate, though, so it's not, it doesn't, like, make the experience particularly horrible. Jay said, I love how that fucking thing, the car, flips, and it's just like, fine. I was thinking that too. It like flips up in the air and bounces off the ground a couple of times, always lands on its wheels, not a scratch on it. And Kitsune says, cats always land on their feet and cars always land on their tires. Kitsune says, waiting for Jeremy's config to be upgraded so he can move the damn cam off the viewport. I know, I'm still trying to do that. Problem at this point is amassing the funds. Kitsune mentions another game similar in presentation to this called Highway Star, which I haven't heard of. It says Highway Star is great, and I finally found another Famicom game that is rather similar and fun. Ha! Tormor says Highway Star is a great song by Deep Purple. And Kitsune agrees. We're all caught up on the chat, so let's play this some more. And it's so weird that there's not like a boop boop bing sound at the beginning of the race. Because for me, that sound and the rhythm of those sound effects would make it much easier to jump off the line. Because I am known for my rhythm. Check this out. Jay is probably aiming a shotgun at his screen right now. Out of my way, bitches. Oh shit, I killed him! But I don't seem to have a damage meter at all. I wonder if there isn't a meter and it is tracking damage internally, and I'll only know how damaged I am by the appearance of my car, like if smoke starts coming out of it or something. I'm going to try hitting this car. Bam! I was wondering if that was going to work. It said my time was out, but I was still rolling, so I still crossed the finish line, and it still counted. Move it, bitch. Of course, by doing that, I think I'm effectively giving them a boost, so I'm not sure it's helping me. Whoa! That guy was already exploded. That's okay, I'm fine. I'm fine. And I didn't even slow completely down, either. I was still going like 50 kilometers per hour. I'm guessing it's kilometers. You know, hitting stuff on the side of the track, it pops you back to the middle of the track, so in a way that's some kind of ghetto steering. Extended play. That was a show that I liked to watch back in the Tech TV days. Before G4 bought out Tech TV and killed them. And then G4 started featuring Olivia Munn too much and killed themselves. I think G4 made a critical mistake, and that is we gamers don't like just eye candy in the presenters for our shows. We want those presenters to have substance. Oh, ran out of time. So Kasune says Highway Star is Square's time-limited traffic evading game across 8 stages with 3 selectable background music tracks. Interesting. Many45 says, and this is why you don't drink and drive. Oh, this is why you don't drive with a lead foot. And looks like Kasune has been doing some research on this. He says that this was a Euro-only console that died in 1 year with 15,000 units sold and only 27 games available. He says it sounds fucking terrible, but it did better than the Virtual Boy. Yeah, game count. I think the Virtual Boy only had, what, 14 games? I do have a Virtual Boy, by the way. I bought it about probably 15 years ago or something like that. At a local gaming shop, it was used, came with a few games, and it was $40. Kitsune says the Virtual Boy controller is a blatant ripoff of the PC Engine controller. Or maybe he's talking about this controller. Yeah, I think he is, because it is very, very, very similar to the PC Engine / TurboGrafx 16 controller. Question for you, Kitsune. Does the PC Engine controller also have the turbo switches that are right there above the buttons, or is that only on the TurboGrafx 16? Dormer says, gotta run everyone. Game on and rock hard, everybody. Thank you, Dormer, for tuning in. Kitsune says, this is funny. You are buying game hardware from the whole planet except the very country where the majority of the stuff comes from in the first place. Yeah, Japan. And there's actually a very important reason for that. I would buy lots more Japanese hardware if I could read Japanese. And I'm starting to think that maybe that's not so much of a barrier, and that I should just buy it and play it anyway, especially since a lot of Japanese games contain at least some English text anyway. Kasune says that the PC Engine controller does indeed have the turbo switches above the 2 buttons on the side. Although this controller doesn't have the 2 middle buttons that are typical of this design. It's just the D-pad, 4 directions, and then the 2 action buttons. And that's because with the GX4000 being a derivative of the Amstrad CPC architecture, the joystick ports on the front are backwards compatible with joysticks from the Amstrad CPC, and those only supported this setup, but instead of a D-pad, it had a stick. And, different layout, that kind of stuff. Looked more like this, which is a Sinclair joystick. You know this design, you've seen this design, where there's the stick on the top, and sometimes there's a button on the top of here like that. Sometimes the buttons are on the base, right there. But maximum of 2 on this architecture. Many45 says the Virtual Boy had 22 games. Does that include canceled games, I'm wondering? I could have sworn the number was 14 officially released games, and one of them was exclusive to somewhere. And I don't know if the number 14 includes or excludes that exclusive game. That's true. Kitsune says, Jeremy, it's not an excuse anymore for me to not be buying Japanese consoles, because Kitsune says you have me. So yeah, I could have a translator while I'm playing these games. Okay. I'm going to try this at least one more time. Maybe I'll eventually make it to a boss battle with Truckosaurus. That'd be pretty cool. Anybody get that reference? I know Jay will. Oh, come on. Man, spinning out like that is actually worse than just crashing. Seems like it took longer to get going again. I'm guessing when you're not driving automatic, the two action buttons on the controller are for upshifting and downshifting. Because otherwise I've been playing exclusively with the D-pad. What's with that sound? Oh, I can see the flags. Come on, game. Okay, Oddman845 says North America only got 14 Virtual Boy games. That's where I got the 14 number from. And he says Japan got 19. 22 altogether. Oddman845 says, I can math. I'm proud of you. I can also math sometimes. Kizune says, look up how many Super Famicom games there are, just to really rub it into Jeremy. Quantity of games is certainly a draw to get me to a platform. Because, not that quantity equals quality, but when there is a large quantity, then that means that, in theory, there will be a larger percentage that is quality. And larger variety of games, too. I like to have a lot of options. And of course you're saying, well, why the fuck did you buy this then? There's only 27 games. Well, like I said, I bought the C4 CPC cartridge emulator, and I am pretty sure there is still some homebrew development out there going on. So maybe I'll be playing some of that at some point on my channel. Provided that the homebrews are free, of course. And the stream is power fucking. Apologies, people. Holy shit, Kitsune says that the Super Famicom had 1,447 games. Move it, bitch. I'm gonna go after this blue car. Come here, fucker. Bam. Fuck you. Actually, no, I'm not gonna go after the blue car because I like blue. Instead, I'm going to go after this dick because he's not blue and he's closest to me. Oh, he got away. See, they don't have to stop when the time's up. What the fuck? Kitsune says, I have just under 3% of all Super Famicom games. So that's what, like 40, 45, 50 games, something like that. And if you don't have Chrono Trigger, Kitsune, you should. That time I actually used the brake. Brake didn't save me that time. Come on, go. Oh, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yes! Look at this, we start the race and there's already exploded cars all over the track. I don't care if I'm spinning out. It's not like these tires are real, so I don't care if I'm burning them off. Yeah. I think I hit the extended play goalpost. Oh, and by the way, I didn't do any kind of weird shrinking of the video or anything like that. This is how big the output of this, I don't know if it's this entire console or just this game, but this is how big it is. Of course, I suppose now that I think about it, I could have messed with the settings on my edge and zoomed in the picture so that it filled the whole screen. But I can't do that right now. I'm burning off my tires. Yeah. Just barely hit the checkpoint. This is how it always seems to be whenever I play. Oh, we're in a tunnel now. This is always how it seems to be when I play racing games. I just barely make it to the checkpoint in like the first 2 levels, and then I get stuck on like level 3. I can't get any further. So how people actually play racing games and, you know, win at them is kind of a total mystery to me. Obviously it's some kind of skill, but and it's obvious that I don't have that skill. Oh, here goes the dick. Into the vagina. And I'm in. And I'm staying in because time's up. I do like staying in. See, how far did I make it? I made it about 2/3 through that level. Apparently Kitsune has 43 Super Famicom games, one of them being an SNES exclusive. I'm surprised you bought a Super NES game, Kitsune. And Kitsune says that his Chrono Trigger is complete in the box. What about yours? Mine's just the cartridge. Rare games, especially rare good games, especially rare good high demand games, it gets increasingly difficult to find one that's still in the box. Especially when the boxes are made out of paper thin cardboard that, you know, rips to pieces whenever you cast an errant gaze at it. Kitsune says, Chrono Trigger is like buying toilet paper, cheap and available anywhere, always. Yeah, I've seen some of the prices for complete in-the-box Chrono Triggers on eBay, and they're like 15 to 20 bucks, and that's with free shipping. It's insane. Kitsune says that another game similar to this is World Grand Prix Pole to Finish. Says he picked it up and it's a fun game for something really cheap. I like those combinations. Many45 says, guys, want to hear my favorite racing game? Math Grand Prix for the Atari 2600. I have that game. Kitsune says, try downshifting to slow the car down faster into a corner. I can't because I've been playing on automatic transmission. And Kitsune says, you know, kind of like you can in real life. Video game physics, huh? I think I am going to have one more go at this. Let's see how badly I can fail this time. Oh, pfft. See, without the sound to notify you that you can start going, I just sat there for like probably 5 seconds. And thus I probably won't even qualify. It was definitely cool to unwrap a basically brand new console, though, because the controllers, I mean, not only were they still wrapped in bubble wrap, but they still had the little the plastic sticky thing that was on the front, and I'm holding down the up button so I don't slow down. But no qualification. But yeah, it still had the plastic thing covering up this area around the buttons on the controller. Of course, I pulled that off and ripped it up because I'm like, this is mine now, bitch. But the edges of the D-pad and the buttons are still kind of sharp in that, you know, they haven't been worn off with use. So that's kind of a nice feeling. One more time. And this time I'm actually going to put some effort into it. Huh. It didn't seem to spin as much from that. Because I jammed the accelerator during the spin. Wonder if that's a technique you can use. And just barely qualified again. I hope, come, piss, no, piss. Well, that's what I get for expending effort. So, I think I'm going to call that a video, but thanks for watching, peeps. And I'm thinking of possibly changing my streaming schedule to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or like Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. Obviously, I'll have that decided by next week. And if so, I will announce it on Twitter. Probably also going to put a poll up on Twitter to let people vote for what they think I should do. But yeah, until then, you can follow my Twitter if you so choose. There's a link to my Twitter profile on my YouTube channel page. Or you can be notified when I'm streaming also by subscribing to me and then hitting the little dingle dangle dongle thingo. So, until my next stream, I'll see you.